So a $1.5 billion AI unicorn just went bankrupt, and the truth behind their AI is going to shock you. So Builder.ai promised to make building apps as easy as ordering pizza using artificial intelligence. Now, Microsoft Sovereign Fund and other major investors poured over $450 million into this company. But here's the kicker. Their AI assistant, Natasha, was actually 700 Indian engineers pretending to be bots. So what happens when you mix financial fraud with fake AI claims? You get the first major casualty of the AI bubble burst. So is this just the beginning, or are we watching the beginning of the AI house of cards start to collapse? Let's dive in and take a look at it today. Welcome to Startup Hack. I'm Spencer, and here at Startup Hack, we love to train software developers and to build custom software solutions for companies. With a decade of executive leadership as a fractional CTO and 25 years in software development, I've mastered transforming tech teams and products. All right, so Builder.ai's spectacular collapse isn't just another startup failure. It's the canary in the coal mine for the entire AI industry. So when a company backed by Microsoft and valued at $1.5 billion can't survive being exposed for basic fraud, then what does this tell us about the bubble burst? Let me break down for you some crucial lessons from this disaster and what it means for every business who is trying to jump onto the AI bandwagon. Now, first of all, Builder.ai marketed their platform with the tagline, "Order an app like you would order a pizza," which should have been the first red flag for anyone with development experience. Now, the promise that complex software development could be reduced to a simple ordering process reveals how little they understood about actual engineering and how much this was a bunch of hype, right? So real app development involves architectural decisions, database design, security concerns, and countless edge cases that can't be automated away. When companies make promises that sound too good to be true in our industry, they almost always are. And this applies to about 90% of the AI startups right now. So in the past, as I've built companies, I've learned early that simplifying the user experience doesn't mean the underlying complexity disappears. So for instance, with CleanRouter, what we did is we took enterprise level servers filtering, and we combined it down into a router that was the size, shape, and all the things of a residential router. Now, we were the first ones to pack this content filtering into something as small as a residential router, and then also to build an interface on top of it to make it as easy enough for mom to be able to use, right? So this is what I mean when I say that we take complexity and make it simple, right? So the pizza metaphor was total marketing fluff, and it was designed to attract non-technical customers who don't know enough to ask the hard questions. Now, Microsoft, Qatar Investment Authority, and SoftBank and other heavyweight investors pumped over $450 million into Builder.ai based on inflated growth metrics. Now, this is part of the problem, right? The company claimed $220 million in projected revenue for 2024, but actually brought in only around $50 million. So that's only off by 340%, just a little bit, right? Bloomberg's investigation revealed that they were using round tripping with Indian social media from Versailles Innovation to fake transactions and inflate sales figures. This wasn't an accidental miscalculation. This was systematic fraud designed to keep the investment money flowing. And I don't think these are the first company we're going to see this with. So the fact that sophisticated investors like Microsoft missed these red flags show how desperate everyone is to find the next AI winner. Now, when investors start doing proper due diligence because of FOMO, right? So in this case, the investors didn't do their due diligence because they were just so afraid they were going to miss out, right? Then the entire ecosystem becomes vulnerable to these types of scam. We saw a lot of the same things during the crypto and Web3 phase, right? We saw this with Enron. When we see investors afraid and diving into things just purely out of FOMO, that's when a lot of this kind of stuff gets missed. So since 2019, report suggested that Builder.ai's AI was actually around 700 human engineers in India manually writing code for customer requests. Now, their AI assistant, Natasha, was essentially a fancy front-end interface that routed customer requests to a human workforce pretending to be automated. So the Wall Street Journal first exposed this in 2019, calling it actually Indians, right, instead of artificial intelligence. Yes, the company kept raising money for years after. That's the thing that's so crazy about this. This represents the worst kind of AI washing, where companies slap AI labels on traditional outsourcing operations to justify a higher valuation. So I've seen plenty of automation claims that were really just, other type of processing, but I've never seen it at this kind of scale. This is ridiculous. The fact that they maintained this deception for over 5 years while raising hundreds of millions of dollars show how broken the startup valuation process is when it comes to the AI world. Now, Voila Credit, which had extended a $50 million debt facility to Builder.ai, seized $37 million from the company's account when they discovered the financial irregularities. Now, this left Builder.ai with only $5 million in operating funds, most of which was locked in an Indian account due to regulatory restrictions. So the company owed $85 million to Amazon for cloud services and $30 million to Microsoft, that debt that they had absolutely no way to pay. So when your creditors start seizing assets, it's usually because they've discovered something that makes them question everything about your business. Now, the CEO had to inform employees that the company was filing for bankruptcy, effectively ending operations overnight. This shows how quickly these high-flying startups can collapse when the financial house of cards get exposed. Now, SoftBank's involvement in Builder.ai follows their unfortunate pattern of backing spectacular failures like WeWork, Theranos, and other adjacent companies. And all this with overhyped startups, right? Their investment strategy seems to be throw massive amounts of money at companies with big growth stories and hope something sticks. Now, unlike Y Combinator's shotgun approach of funding hundreds of early stage companies, SoftBank goes all in on fewer later stage bets, or later stage in air quotes, right? Bet with much higher stakes. The problem with this approach is that it incentivizes companies to maintain growth narratives at any cost, including fraud. So when you're trying to justify $1 billion valuation, the pressure to show exponential growth can pressure founders into dangerous territory, right? Because, for instance, if Builder.ai had said we're going to focus on revenue growth instead of focusing on just growth, the narrative would have looked very different, right? So SoftBank's track record suggests that they're either terrible at due diligence or they don't care as long as the growth story sounds compelling. Now, Microsoft's not only invested in Builder.ai, but actually integrated their services into Microsoft Teams, giving them enterprise credibility. This integration meant that Microsoft was essentially endorsing Builder.ai's AI capabilities to their own enterprise customers. The fact that Microsoft's due diligence missed this obvious red flag also raises serious questions about their venture evaluation process, right? So having a major tech company validate your product through integration deals can mask fundamental problems for a long time. And Microsoft is now dealing with this embarrassment of having promoted a company that was essentially running a sophisticated scam. So this will likely make Microsoft and other tech giants way more cautious about partnering with AI startup growths. Now, Builder.ai and Versailles Innovations were essentially paying each other identical amounts for services that were never actually delivered. This round-tripping scheme allows both companies to inflate their revenue figures by creating fake business transactions. So documents show they carefully timed these invoices to avoid suspicion, but ultimately each company spent roughly the same amount. So this type of fraud is particularly insidious because it shows up as a legitimate revenue growth in financial statements. So the scheme reportedly ran from 2021 to 2024, meaning they maintained this deception for 3 full years. Revenue recognition fraud is one of the oldest tricks in the book, yet sophisticated investors still fell for it. Now, the FBI and other federal agencies are now investigating Builder.ai's financial practices and client data handling. Former employee Robert Hold'em sued the company for $5 million, claiming he was fired for flagging deceptive practices. So he tried to be a whistleblower and got canned for it. A massive data breach exposed 1.2 terabytes of client data, including sensitive information from customers who trust the platform. So not only were they committing fraud, but they weren't even building these things in a secure way, right? So the investigation is seeking access to financial records that could reveal the full extent of the fraud. So multiple whistleblowers have come forth describing the company as all engineering, no AI from the inside. This federal attention will likely uncover even more problems and could lead to criminal charges. Now, if your company has systems that aren't connected and you're hitting some problems, hopefully nothing as serious as Builder.ai, reach out to us, because here at Startup Hack, we love to build software for companies. Check out startuphack.com/Spencer because we can help you out. Now, founder de Gaulle stepped down from as CEO in February, but retained the title of Chief Wizard, which should tell you everything you need to know about the company's culture, right? The new CEO was brought in specifically to try to clean up the financial mess and raise emergency funding. Now, de Gaulle's decision to keep a made-up title while avoiding the CEO responsibility shows he knew that the ship was sinking. The Chief Wizard title perfectly encapsulates the magical thinking that pervaded his entire operation. So Rataya managed to raise $75 million in emergency funding from existing investors, but it wasn't enough to save the company. When founders started giving themselves fantasy jobs, it's usually a sign that you're more interested in playing startup than building a real business. Now, Builder.ai represents the worst case scenario of AI washing. And I'm going to admit that, right? I get that this is not the standard. I'm not suggesting that every company out there is, actual Indians, right? Like I'm not saying that this is just something that's happening to everybody. But this scandal is forcing investors and customers to start asking much harder questions about AI claims. And this just goes to show how we're starting to see very similar things that happened with the .com era, right? The practice of labeling traditional software development as AI powered is becoming increasingly common and dangerous. People who are just saying, oh, well, we make this one call out to OpenAI and it comes back and now we're an AI company. Real AI integration requires significant technical expertise, requires intricate data infrastructure and ongoing maintenance that most companies underestimate. The Builder.ai collapse is sending shockwaves through the AI ecosystem, making investors more skeptical of bold AI claims. I mean, just the sheer amount of what their AWS and Amazon bills were should have been a huge red flag, right? When you owe $85 million to Amazon and $30 million to Microsoft, and I'm sure a good portion of that was from their AI bill from the cloud hosting, this tells you right away some stuff that you need to know. And this should have been a red flag to the investors, right? Because if you're doing that and only bringing in even $50 million of revenue, you're way off the books, right? The Builder.ai collapse is sending shockwaves, and I hope it really starts to wake some people up. Companies that have been stretching the truth about their AI capabilities are now scrambling to either deliver real AI or pivot their message and their building, right? Builder.ai's reliance on 700 Indian engineers highlights the global talent arbitrage that many AI companies are depending on. The company was essentially running a traditional software outsourcing operation with AI branding and Silicon Valley pricing. So this approach works until customers realize that they're paying premium prices for a standard offshore development. The collapse reveals how many AI companies are actually just repackaging existing software development practices. Real AI development requires specialized talent that commands high salaries and equity stakes, not offshore contract workers. So the talent shortage in genuine AI development means that most companies claiming AI capabilities are probably stretching the truth. So Builder.ai's collapse represents the first major AI unicorn failure and signals that AI bubble is starting to enter its reality check phase. When a company with $450 million in funding and Microsoft backing can't survive basic scrutiny, it suggests the entire AI investment landscape is due for correction. The combination of financial fraud and fake AI claims creates a perfect storm that will make investors much more cautious going forward. I hope. This failure will likely trigger more investigations into other AI startups with questionable claims and inflated metrics. The companies that survive the correction will be the ones that have real AI capabilities and sustainable business models. So just like the .com crash separated real internet companies from the pretenders, this AI correction will reveal those who are actually building valuable products. Now, if you want to build valuable products, and you have systems that aren't connected, reach out to us because here at Startup Hack, our specialty is connecting systems to help your company work to maximum efficiency. Check out startuphack.com/Spencer. Now, what do you think? I love to have a great conversation and I answer all the comments myself. So make sure you leave a comment down below and make sure to like and subscribe. Here at Startup Hack, we love to train software developers as well as build custom software solutions for companies. So check out startuphack.com/Spencer and here's some great information about some of our services.
Hi, my name is Spencer Thomason and I'm a fractional CTO. With over a decade of executive leadership and a solid 25 years in software development, I've mastered the art of transforming technology teams and products. So what is a fractional CTO? This is where you can contract someone like myself to come into your organization and get the benefits of a seasoned CTO without having to employ me full time. In today's fast-paced world, efficiency, security, and product scaling aren't just goals, they're necessities. My passion is building impactful products and enhancing organizational efficiencies through technology. From startups to small businesses, my approach leverages lean methodologies to not just meet but exceed your strategic goals. Whether it's through executive mentoring, cloud system architecture, or launching a minimum viable product swiftly, my aim is to make a significant impact right from the start. Recognized in the Arizona startup ecosystem, my journey has been about creating value and fostering innovation. I have led technology for companies like GoDaddy, SRP, and Wells Fargo and turned challenges into milestones. I've taken this learning and launched 7 of my own brands, and now I want to help you. So if you're looking for a fractional CTO who brings a wealth of experience, strategic vision, and a proven track record, let's connect. Together we can build technology that not only drives your business forward, but also makes a difference. Technology leadership redefined to fit your needs. So reach out today.